To start with, welcome to this second session of laws, which is based on the geography aspect. And here we have combined both the aspects of physical geography and human geography, which we actually covered separately in our SIP sessions. But here I feel like since this area is where the questions come from, application of physical concepts in the human arena, so how to write them together becomes a challenge as well as advantage also, because here the answer does get very differentiable if you can show minute brilliances which I have talked about. Secondly, here the questions are do come in the two parts. अगर आपने देखा हो तो let's say first part would be what are ocean currents, and second part would be discuss their application on regional climate, navigation and something else. Yeah, discuss the role of isthmus and strait in the international trade. Similarly, groundwater पोटेंशियल के बारे में डिस्कस करेगा एंड फिर देन उसको रिलेट करेगा कि उसका डिप्लीशन और फूड सिक्योरिटी के साथ में. तो there have been significant interlinkages which were envisaged by the syllabus itself, and so we need to have that in our writing. So firstly, I should be talking about here is the differential aspect, the differential approach that we need to have. What I mean by differential approach, so as we have seen that there is a physical geographic aspect and there is a human geography aspect, but these two are not separate. The questions are being asked how you know the physical geography, physical factors, the elements, the systems, the interlinkages, the causal relations, and how you are able to visualize, manifest and apply them in the human arena. So the question which I was talking about is the like origin. They talked about origin of ocean currents and their role in regional climate, fishing and navigation. So regional climate is all right, it is physical geography, but in that also they are asking about fishing and navigation. So this fishing and navigation actually comes from only if you know what the elements are, what kind of distribution there is, how does ocean current play a role in overall the geophysical processes and how we are actually utilizing them. And this differential approach will only help you if you can make synthesis of them. So don't write them separately. I'll talk about where and how you can visualize your synthesis there. Similarly, there is a they do ask about explanation and application. So what I mean by explanation, they ask you whether you understand the phenomenon or not. So there was this question on consequences of spread of dead zones. So if you don't know what dead zones are and if you can't explain what dead zones are, there is no way you can explain, you can convincingly explain me what would be its consequences. So here also you need to have the synthesis, whereby you would be not only talking about the explanation, but how a certain phenomenon, a certain process is actually having certain consequences, causation factors. And similarly, the next synthesis which I would like to envisage is the scientific versus general. So what happens that sometimes we see that the questions can become a bit of technical. Mantle plume wala question hai. There was this question on Aurora Borealis. There was this question on the west side, the Purvaiya. So these questions, you may sound a bit of like scientific, whereby a particular explanation, particular scientific explanation is being asked. However, answer doesn't fulfill its demand if you only stick to the scientific aspects. So if let's say Purvaiya mein, if you only explain the how it comes from the west and then the Arakan Yoma hills and then their deflection, फिर मेघालय plateau से deflection, so it doesn't fulfill their answer. Purvaiya, it also means that it's cultural aspect, and it actually explained in the next aspect as well, whereby they ask about its cultural significance. So I hope you are getting my point, where I'm saying that it's not only talking about the scientificness of it, but also how you are visualizing in day-to-day life. Similarly, like there is this question of characteristics of monsoon climate. So you can go on talking about the monsoonal climate, so on, but characteristics of monsoonal climate in terms of its culture, in terms of its importance on financial status, on agriculture, etc. You cannot like explain the characteristics of monsoon unless and until you actually give deliberate and conscious explanation on all these factors. You must have heard like this saying that monsoon is the finance minister of India. So this itself can be a conclusion or introduction to any monsoon related question, whereby I have not only given you what its importance is and why are you asking the question here itself, but I also know that I'll try and link it with the scientific aspects in the next part. So what actually matters, the way we actually discuss. So all the points about the arguments, about having them in a like the hook, the explanation and the evidence format, hook, explanation, evidence format, this all of those things actually hold here as well, which we talked in the last session, whereby what constitutes a good answer. That's that actually holds, and you need to follow that format across the laws, across the answer writing. So I'm not going to explain it uh, again. Rather, here I would explain what differential factors, what differential argument building you can do in this thing. Firstly, the introduction in the history context or in the other aspects, simply defining a concept becomes very difficult and it does not add much of a value. So if let's say in history wala question, if they ask you uh, the rock cut architecture explains the spirit of the age, so defining what rock cut architecture is doesn't bode well with the spirit and the context of the examination. However, since it is a scientific paper, scientific question, and they do talk about explanations, definition in itself as a start becomes a very crucial. So if let's say there is this question on mantle plume, so you may talk about like mantle plume is the opening on the lithospheric plates whereby magma rises, giving rise to various geophysical phenomena. If let's say there is a question on monsoon, so monsoon is a seasonal reversal of winds and it has impact on the so and so so so. So definition in its air masses. What are air masses, and uh, discuss its macroclimatic implications. Air masses are three-dimensional homogeneous bodies of air which have little to no horizontal gradient but limited vertical gradient. And then you talk about what are types of air masses. I hope I am able to explain what how significant definition becomes in this context itself. Second would be the context. Here you can integrate our nice approach. Let's say there's a question on earthquakes, volcanoes, there's a question on ecotourism, etc. You can like give example on let's say the water scarcity in the Shimla, and or the traffic jams in the Shimla and the other hills, highlight the excessive carrying capacity, and it talks about the need for sustainable and ecotourism. I mean, you can phrase the, but you got the spirit right. Similarly, if let's say there is a question on physical geography, you can actually have it in terms of applied aspects. So if let's say there is a question on ocean currents, you may say that ocean currents are the part of conveyor belt mechanism or whatever, which holds significance for fishing grounds, the navigation routes, and the and the macroclimates or the regional climate. So you are actually interlinking question from the other and giving its why the context is why there is relevance in here itself. And you can actually show the data to show some relevance as well, like why there is the depletion of groundwater potential is there. The question on food security is there. So if let's say there is a question on food security and they talk about the climate change relating to it, you can say that the India's position as a, like seventh rank in the uh, the climate impact index. The what's that index? Climate change impact index or what? Vulnerability index. So point out this and then go on to write your answers. So all of these are a bit differential from what we talked about earlier, since they are a bit applied to extent, and also they tend to have a bit of scientificity associated with them. Here, what I have observed that sometimes, let's say there is this question on uh, 2014, there was this question on the unusual climatic happenings, and they asked about whether the unusual climatic happenings are related to El Nino. So what you would do, you would say define El Nino, and then you would go say that your subhead would be unusual climatic happenings and El Nino, and you would go on to write 1 2 3 points, etc., etc. But however, what I feel that in the entire scheme of things, you have never explained what El Nino is. So, and particularly in this segment, this connecting scheme or diagram or map becomes very crucial, since it would ensure that you have not only given the contextual demand, I would say it's a contextual demand. Without explaining El Nino, you cannot go on to explain what would be the how it is related to negative consequences. So here, after writing introduction, you can always have a schematic on what the El Nino is. Just draw a map and here say draw the Walker cell and say what the El Nino is. Similarly, if let's say there is this there was this another question on characteristics of monsoonal climate. So here they are talking about characteristics, not how monsoon originates, what monsoon is, or another things. They are talking about characteristics of it. So in that case, you need to explain what monsoon is to go further, and to crisply and sharply show this, you can actually talk about origin of monsoon as a schematic, where you can say like these are elements and these are theories. So elements talk about the Tibetan plateau, talk about subtropical westerly jet, tropical easterly jet. Then you can talk about the Mascarene High and the Reunion Islands pressure, and then you can talk about the monsoonal cell. Here you can talk about the ENSO cycle. You can talk about the IOD. You can talk about the MJO. When I said talk about, just mention here and then draw a box around it. That's it. So that examiner would know that you know what it means, what it lies, and since you are just establishing your foot in the door to ensure that yeah, he knows something, and now he'll explain building on this, so that he has a scientific backing, scientific knowledge for it. When this actually is the synthesis of scientific and the general. Also, this is also synthesis of scientific and applied. So, whereby you are actually giving him an extra idea about the scientific explanations of things. Similarly, let's say there is an applied question whereby you would know that you can explain these things very in elaborately and go on for hours, but you need to have it a very crisp, a very crisp presentation with regarding to how you do actually know. So thereby, so there was this question on, I think, uh, depletion of mangroves. So you told that like according to this report, there are 46% of mangroves under threat, and and they they said to have significant impact on the socio-economic culture of the coastal communities, or may slow down the SDG progression. And then rather than like jumping on to direct causes of it, you can draw schematic and say that what are the local consequences, what are the regional consequences, and what are the global causes. So global would be like climate change. So regional would be like delayed germination of seeds. Regional would be like sea level rise. Local would be like construction, encroachment, reclamation. So when the by the reading of the introduction and just beginning, examiner would know that you have hit the demand. You know what you are going to discuss in the next part, and you have just given him a wonderful trailer, wonderful presentable trailer to ensure that to entice his uh, curiosity into reading your answer further. So this acts as a hook for your entire answer. It's an extension of our introduction, but it becomes very particular since this here explanations and particular scientific explanations are a bit warranted. Now moving on to the building, now to build arguments, first and foremost is like with all the 4 5 skeletal keys which we have talked about, then the theories which we talked about. In addition to that, geography pyramid is very central. So there would be many generalistic questions, but when I meant by geography pyramid, the pyramid which we talked about last class in the beginning about the lithosphere, the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, and the biosphere. Just always think on these lines and then link it with the anthroposphere. So in any ways you are gonna link, you have to build the interlinks, but this framework, this point would ensure that you will be building some explanations around things. So if let's say they do talk about what would be the role of local winds. So talk local winds in terms of atmosphere, talk local winds in terms of hydrosphere, talk local winds in terms of biosphere, and uh, the anthroposphere. Hereby you can entire very vast and very big geographical phenomenon can actually be condensed into something which is very crisp and writable. Next would be use of geographical terms. What I have observed that I have like worked with more than 500 candidates, and every time I feel that they shy away from writing certain geographical terms. So let's say there is this question on dead zones. So people don't write what dead zones is. Dead zones is hypoxia. Dead zone is where carrying capacity is actually lost. Dead zones is where bioproductivity becomes zero or the ecosystem productivity becomes zero. People don't use terms as ecosystem services. Similarly, in the uh, our geomorphology wala questions, they shy away from writing the emergent coastline, the submergent coastline. These are all given in NCRT, and you would know. I mean, you have written them, read them, heard them, everything. Similarly, if there is this question on these geophysical features of the circum-Pacific belt, so there itself you can write about Wadati Benioff zone. This has been given in NCRT, but people don't pay much of a heed to such terms. They would say that ठीक है लिखा होगा तो क्या ही काम है. But actually, so let's say I draw a diagram of uh, the submergence, and I would show Vadati Bin, and while giving the title, I would say Vadati Benioff zone of the submergence, zone of the convergent boundary. Again, convergent boundary. So I have used those geographical terms which make me sound like someone who is knowledgeable of the subject and which is actually comfortable with the entire scheme of things which are going on. Next thing would be use of diagram. See, geography is a graphical subject, and since there are explanations without schematics, how would you explain things? If there are no diagrams, then things become very superficial. So, and don't shy away. I felt, and I have myself been one of those guys who would shy away from from making diagrams. I would say क्या फर्क पड़ता है, चल जाएगा, मतलब क्यों ही बताना. And trust me, using diagrams, drawing diagrams does not come very naturally. You need to build conscious efforts for it. And when I mean conscious, you need to take a bit of pain, a bit of struggle in drawing them. There would be times where you would not get the exact diagram, exact map, but you need to improvise. So there was this question on temperature inversion. So if let's say there are 4 or 5 types of temperature inversions, you need to draw a diagram for each one of them. So you can say this is occluded front. This is, I am talking about frontal inversion. So this is cold air mass and this is warm air mass. And then I would draw the map of the temperature inversion for it. Similarly, this is this valley inversion. Then this is daytime, this is nighttime. Show the arrows and show the show the actual phenomenon. And while writing the right explanation here itself. So this entire becomes your 1.1 argument.
I'll add. I suppose that everyone is getting why do we need to make diagrams in geography, है ना? Consider a scenario. You are trying to communicate. Communication means you ensure that whatever you are trying to say, the other person, the other party, the listener is able to understand what do you want to say. है ना? Communication means this. Both things should happen. That what do you say and what does he listen? Both are in the sync. So why do we say that in ethics we have to give the examples? Because with only definitions or with only explaining the point, we cannot convey what does it exactly mean in the real life. Similarly, in geography, if you are explaining with some terms, technical terms, or if you are not able to draw the diagram, if you are not able to show what exactly is happening, where the wind is going, where the mountains are, where this occluded front is this, है ना? If you are not drawing the diagram, it's very high chance that the listener or the reader things will go out of his brain. He will not be able to understand what do you want to say. So that's why in geography it is absolutely essential to draw a diagram to explain your point. In every subject, you just think what you can do to explain your point. In essay also you have to think in this way. In ethics also, in geography also, in history also, you just have to ensure that you are able to communicate. Communication means both things, that what do you want to say is the listener or the reader is able to exactly understand what do you want to say. I hope everyone gets it. So it will depend upon the subject, and you will have to improvise based on the subject how you can make the other person understand what do you want to say.
And again, I would have like compiled a list of diagrams and given to you. I mean, that hasn't been a much of a effort for me, but building on to whatever my philosophy is, so it is a natural extension of like collection of data. So unless and until you write arguments and know that this is where I need a data point, and then you go and search for it and collect it and then write in your notes, then you will be able to utilize it. Similar is the case with diagram also. I can absolutely give you 15-20 diagrams, and I can even give a compilation of them drawing also. But unless and until you bring in your approach of writing and say that this is the diagram I would need to explain my point, then go for it and look for it and actually build on it and draw them by your hand and make a compilation of it. The next aspect to build argument here is regional maps. This is very central, and this is, if I would say I would need to use only one tool, this is the tool I'm going to use, because they actually is a synthesis of all of it. It gives examples since you are talking about a particular region, a particular case. Similarly, it gives locational analysis. Since you are talking, the example is located in space, so it's a locational analysis. Thirdly, it actually enriches answer. It actually enriches your answer by making quality discussions. Since you are not only rambling about things, see, so you are not saying like there is a water pollution, but you would be saying that there is a phosphorus, there is a uranium pollution in the Punjab, there is a salinity in the coastal areas of Gujarat and Maharashtra, there is a groundwater depletion in the regions of Haryana and Punjab. There is a uh, fluoride pollution in the state of West Bengal. Then there is river water pollution in the Gangetic Valley. So on. So you are not only giving the quality judgment, you are not only giving the examples, but you are talking them in the context of space. And if you draw like regional maps, it adds extremely high value to the presentation as well. So they serve like multidimensional purpose. If you like, this is a very brilliant skill. If you have developed this skill, no, you can utilize them in the questions around economy, environment, geography, agriculture, and for that matter, even security as well. So please develop this thing, and I'll be exhibiting how regional maps are actually drawn. So I hope like the formatting and answer is the answer formatting and the basics are a bit clear. We'll move to discussing up questions. Till until now, any questions or any queries that you would want to get addressed?
स्पेशली वर्ल्ड मैप मैंने देखा किसी से क्वेश्चंस पे जिसमें वर्ल्ड मैप डालने की कोशिश करता हूँ मैं, और 1 मिनट तो लगभग वर्ल्ड मैप बनने में लग जाता है, और मीन्स 2 से ढाई मिनट तो फॉर श्योर वो उस डायग्राम में जाते ही, फिर वो बाकी आंसर्स के लिए इतना टाइम नहीं मिलता है।
वर्ड मैप बनाने में 15 सेकंड लगते हैं। मैं अभी बना के दिखाता हूँ।
सर उसमें मीन्स अगर ओशन करंट्स का डाल रहे हैं तो हर एक मेंशन करने में, फिर प्रॉपर बनाने में टाइम लग रहा है।
15 सेकंड का भाई 1 नंबर भी तो मिल रहा है उसका एक्स्ट्रा। अभी मैं दिखाता हूँ कि हाउ टू एक्चुअली ड्रॉ एंड इंटीग्रेट मैप्स, वो मैं अभी दिखाता हूँ।
हिमांशु, डेफिनेशंस की लिस्ट मत बनाओ, रादर अगर तुम टॉपिक वाइज नोट्स बनाओ। ऐसे मत करो कि जैसे एक जगह तुमने वो बना ली है कि डेफिनेशंस लिख ली एक जगह सारी, है ना, या फिर डायग्राम एक जगह लिख ली। मैं ठीक है, दिस इज आल्सो अप्रोच, बट व्हाट आई यूज्ड टू डू वाज, फॉर एग्जांपल आई एम मेकिंग अ नोट्स ऑन साइक्लोन, आई एम मेकिंग अ नोट्स ऑन सुनामी। तो जो साइक्लोन है, साइक्लोन का सारा कच्चा छिटा आई विल बी राइटिंग एट द सिंगल प्लेस, so that when I'm recalling in the exam na, I am able to exactly recall that whole page. Otherwise it will be very tough to recall the only definitions. This is my preferred route. Even in gs2 case, gs2 those supreme court judgments also na, I even though I had collected them at the one place, all the supreme court judgments, but at the same time I integrated the supreme court judgments with the topic, so that when I'm preparing a topic, the topic gets completed as a whole. This is my recommendation. You can do as per your
ओके सर।
suitability.
एंड कंपाइलेशन बनाना है तो फिर शुरुआत में कंपाइलेशन बनाना है, इसलिए कंपाइलेशन मत बनाओ। सो देयर इज दिस थिंग व्हिच नंबर
नहीं सर, वो मैं इस हिसाब से कह रहा था कि जैसे जो मेन कंसेप्ट है ना, जैसे साइक्लोन्स हो गए, जो मेन फिनोमेना के कंसेप्ट हैं, जो पता है रिपीट करते ही हैं, और इनमें प्रॉब्लम क्या होती है, जो आपने सेशन में भी बोला था, जैसे टेक्टोनिक प्लेट है। अब इनका अगर वन लाइनर तुम अगर हमारे पास डेफिनेशन नहीं है, और ज्योग्राफी मेरे को काफी ज्यादा इसलिए कंसेप्चुअल लगता है कि अगर आपको यही नहीं पता वो चीज है क्या, उसको आगे एक्सप्लेन क्या करोगे आप।
बहुत बढ़िया, बिल्कुल सही बात है। तो
इसमें मेरे ख्याल से तो मैंने जिस हिसाब से अपने नोट्स अभी तक क्रिएट किए थे, उसमें बेशक मैं इम्पैक्ट या कुछ लिखूं ना लिखूं, ये मैंने जरूर लिखा है कि वो है क्या, क्योंकि उसके आगे मैं खुद से भी ड्रॉ कर सकता हूँ थोड़े, मतलब एप्लीकेशन वाला पार्ट।
यस ऑफ कोर्स,
इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। निखिल ने शुरू में यही तो बताया आधे घंटे में कि ज्योग्राफी के आंसर लिखने का तरीका अलग है, हिस्ट्री के आंसर लिखने का तरीका अलग है। इन ज्योग्राफी शुरू में डेफिनेशन आना, उसका बेसिक सा स्ट्रक्चर आना, कि जैसे लोकल, रीजनल और वो जो रीजंस उसने बताए है ना, जो बेसिक स्कीमेटिक है, आपका फंडामेंटल नॉलेज है, साइंटिफिक नॉलेज है, वो आपको शुरू में दिखा देनी है सब्जेक्ट के। ओनली देन द पर्सन विल बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट ही नोज द सब्जेक्ट।
ओके सर।
एंड कंपाइलेशन का मैं एक बात कहूं पर्टिकुलरली, तो जैसे कंपाइलेशन एंड में बनाते हैं, कंपाइलेशन शुरू में कभी भी नहीं बनाते। देखो, तो वंस यू हैव लाइक गॉट ऑल द मसाला, तो एंड में फिर उसको डिस्टिल करके कंपाइलेशन बनाओ ना। जैसे उसने केस का बताया, केस का उसने पहले एक जगह पे केस से सारे उसने नोट्स में लिख लिए, फिर उसके बाद में उसको लगा कि अच्छा लेट्स रिकॉल देम, तो उसने एक जगह पे बैठ के लिख लिया उनको।
सर मैंने एक्चुअली कैसे किया है कि जो, क्योंकि ज्योग्राफी के काफी पोर्शन था जो प्रीलिम्स के साथ मर्ज हो रहा था, तो मैंने जो इसमें आपने जैसे उस दिन जो सारे पॉइंटर्स कहे थे,
हाँ
उसके सारे पॉइंटर्स जो प्रीलिम्स के साथ मर्ज हो रहे थे, वो तो नोट्स में प्रीलिम्स वाले हैं ही, मतलब जो
हाँ
बना
हाँ
रखे हैं, तो उनको तो रिपीट करने का फायदा है नहीं।
हाँ।
तो जो उसमें से अप्लाइड फॉर्मेशन के क्वेश्चंस थे, जैसे आपने बोला था, 1-2 मैंने आज ही नोटिंग्स उसकी क्रिएट की थी, कि जैसे कंपैरिजन तीनों थ्योरीज का, या क्या कहते हैं, क्रायोस्फीयर और वो जो सारे डिजास्टर फिनोमेनास थे, उनका
यस।
एक जगह पे नोटिंग की, व्हाई हैपेंस, और क्या कहते हैं, उनका फॉर्मेशन कैसे होता है, उनका मैपिंग कैसे होती है, उनकी मैंने एक जगह लिस्ट बना ली है। तो
हाँ,
उसके
ये तो बढ़िया, ये तो यही तो करना है।
हाँ, मैं वही कह रहा था कि उसके
हाँ, यही तो
आगे का मैं
करना
ये
है।
कह रहा था
हाँ,
कि
यही तो
रिवाइज
करना
करने के लिए अगर मेरे को डेफिनेशन बेस्ड इंट्रोडक्शन का, क्योंकि एक जगह पे अगर कंपाइलेशन
है। हाँ, दिस इज
कंपाइलेशन
वेरी
भी
गुड,
नहीं मैं
यही
कहूँगा,
यही करना है, यही करना है।
रिवीजन के लिए मतलब एक तरीका ही है ये, मतलब उस हिसाब
हाँ,
से।
यही करना है, बढ़िया ये तो।
सर एक और डाउट है, लाइक
हाँ
इन
हाँ।
केस ऑफ इंट्रोडक्शन और कंक्लूजन जो होते हैं, जैसे आप अभी बता रहे थे, सो इज इट एडवाइजेबल कि अगर हम थोड़ा क्रिएटिव लिख दें कंक्लूजन, लाइक आई एम गिविंग एन एग्जांपल कि जैसे मॉनसून और क्लाइमेट चेंज का कोई क्वेश्चन आता है एंड आई राइट कि लाइक दिस मॉनसून इज अ क्लाइमेटिक एसेट एंड क्लाइमेट चेंज इज लाइक इज द वोलेटिलिटी व्हिच रिक्वायर्स रिस्क मैनेजमेंट, समथिंग लाइक दैट।
हाँ, बढ़िया, बहुत अच्छा।
तो ये लिख सकते हैं राइट इस तरीके
हाँ,
से?
बिल्कुल लिख सकते हैं, कितना क्रिएटिव हो जाओ, कितना भी क्रिएटिव हो जाओ।
ओके,
हाँ, दिस इज
ठीक
अ
है
गुड
सर,
अप्रोच।
ठीक है सर।
तो लाइक लेट्स स्टार्ट विद दिस क्वेश्चन। 2021 में पूछा था शायद ये, या फिर 20 में, 23 में पूछा था शायद ये व्हाई इज इंडिया कंसिडर्ड एज अ सबकॉन्टिनेंट, गिव रीजंस और इलैबोरेट योर आंसर। तो think on it for like 2-3 minutes and develop structure on whatever aspects which we have already discussed. Deliberately try and incorporate the points which I have specifically highlighted out, and then we'll move forward and discuss it. So who will come forward and begin the discussion? Venkatesh, तुम बताओ, what do you think of it?
Sure, am I audible?
Yes, yes. We
Sir,
can hear you.
start with the definition as like continent-wise, how the India is considered as a subcontinent. Then we can give historical the significance as well, like Harappan civilization, like that. Then,
ओके, आगे बताओ.
sir, parts may we can firstly major part should be why the subcontinent. So here we can go with the differential approach. Sorry, means geographical pyramid rule that how lithospherically means first we can give continental part, how the continental part is one of the factor. Then in atmosphere we can go with the monsoon winds, how
Very
monsoon
good.
affect the then trade economically also we can analyze that economical role as well now.
ओके, और
सर मैंने इसके 3 या 4 पार्ट सोचे थे।
बताओ.
तो एक तो मैंने सोचा था जैसे क्लाइमेटिक है कि
हम्म.
मानसूनल आता है और जो सिमिलैरिटीज हैं मानसूनल और उसके जैसे हिमालयस के इस तरफ के जैसे। और सबसे पहले इसमें मेरे ख्याल से ये रीजन ड्रॉ करना ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है कि
ठीक है.
सब कॉन्टिनेंट का मतलब यहाँ पे हम किससे डिफाइन कर रहे हैं।
ठीक है.
और एक फिर मैंने इसमें सोचा था जैसे प्लेट्स हैं अ, अ, इंडिया यूरेशिया जो इंडो यूरेशिया प्लेट जो नीचे आती है हमारी जो हिमालयस की तरफ इंक्रीज कर रही है हमारी प्लेट जो है। और थर्ड फैक्टर मैंने सोचा था सोशो कल्चर है कि हमारे ये जो रीजन है वो इसमें जैसे मैंने एक बारी राजीव सीकरी आईआर के हुए हैं उनका मैंने एक वो सुना था कि जो हमारे नेबरिंग कंट्रीज हैं उनकी सबसे बड़ी डिफिकल्टी यही होती है कि वो हम अपने आप को हमसे डिस्टिंग्विश कैसे करेंगे। तो
सही
मतलब
बात
ये इंटेंट ये भी मतलब क्योंकि पाकिस्तान और नेपाल वाले रीजन का भी सिमिलर होता है और यही था मतलब 3-4 जो मैं सोच पाया।
अच्छा, ठीक है, मतलब ठीक स्ट्रक्चर है. वेंकटेश वाला भी फंडा ठीक है, तुम्हारा भी फंडा ठीक था. वेंकटेश बस जस्ट वांट टू हाईलाइट वन थिंग. अब जैसे ज्योग्राफी लिख रहे हैं ना, तो फिर इंडस वैली लाने का एटलीस्ट फर्स्ट पॉइंट तो मत लाओ. मतलब अगर तुम्हें टेंशनली लिंक भी करना है तो एग्जामिनर को ऐसे ही ना लगे कि तुमने शुरुआत में डिमांड मिस कर दी. तुमने अच्छे पॉइंट मॉनसून वॉनसून वाले बाद में बताए, एंड विच वाज अ बिट ऑफ टेंजेंशियल पॉइंट तुमने उसको पहले बता दिया. दिस इज लाइक वेरी सेंट्रल, वेरी क्रूशियल थीम.
सर
बात
कैन
क्या
आई
है ना
गो
कि
लाइक
हाँ हाँ हाँ, बताओ बताओ.
सो सर मेरे दिमाग में आया कि लाइक आई कैन इंट्रोड्यूस विद द फैक्ट दैट इंडियाज शेयर वास्टनेस पॉपुलेशन एंड like the linguistic diversity gives it the status of subcontinent to many
Very
of
good.
the people, right? Then we will break the question into different parts. First would be like, why is India considered a subcontinent? Abhi isme we will start with the same geographical pyramid approach ki lithosphere. We will say that we have Indian plate, as Himanshu was mentioning, that with our own name. So, like the name of the country. So that is like one feature. Second would be about the linguistic diversity, like racial diversity also. Different kind of races that are there. We'll give example also. Then we can move over to the this historical part as well. That we have this continuity, and then like 4 or 5 points we can write even about the biodiversity also, like mega diverse country, and then BD hotspots, all these
Very
things.
good.
And then we will write like why it cannot be considered as a subcontinent also. Why? Because there are certain features which are not that of a subcontinent. Like monsoon is something which is common to other neighbors also, like not just India. And Tibet is also a part of it, like of that whole process. So we cannot consider India only as a subcontinent. Then secondly, the fact that subcontinent has a colonial notion. So because they used to call it in this sense, like so that gives a colonial undertone to the subcontinent notion. That's why it would not be considered. It would not be good to call it a subcontinent. And then politically also, we are like separate from other nations. So would not be better to call it a subcontinent. So I think that we should try to address like both the parts again. Since question is up.
I feel you can write this second part, but very briefly. मतलब दो
Exactly.
पार्ट per set.
देखो,
Because fundamental demand is not.
इंडिया एज अ सब कॉन्टिनेंट होता तो फिर दोनों पार्ट लिखने का जरूरत था.
हाँ, they
Okay,
are,
okay, okay.
वो तो they are आपने आपके फेस पे ही बोल दिया कि भैया सब कॉन्टिनेंट है वो, मुझे बताओ
हाँ.
क्यों है.
Okay, okay, got
एक
it.
नहीं है यहाँ पे. It is not
मतलब
discuss और
is India होता तो is India
हाँ,
सब considered.
इसलिए बस
हाँ.
इसलिए ना डायरेक्टिव इज इलेबोरेट. उसने
Yeah,
बोला
do
है
you
ऐसा.
think India should be considered as a
हाँ
subcontinent
हाँ.
होता?
It
Okay,
is
okay,
not
okay.
an opinion question. It is
Got
उसने
it, sir.
establish कर दिया है.
जी जी जी. Yes.
तुम्हारे मुंह पे बोल दिया कि ये है, अब इलेबोरेट कर दो इसके ऊपर.
Hmm.
समझ गए?
Understood.
सर
Yes.
सर एक और पॉइंट मुझे वो आ रहा है कि हम जैसे कि इंडिया का जो सब कॉन्टिनेंट है वो मोस्टली वही पार्ट है जो गोंडवाना लैंड के टाइम पे था. तो क्या हम इससे स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं कि ओरिजिनली इंडिया गोंडवाना लैंड का पार्ट था और फिर वो सब कॉन्टिनेंट में टूट गया.
Very good. अच्छा पॉइंट है ये. मतलब this is what like when I was thinking about the same. So basically क्या है, देखो मैं बताता हूँ. सब कॉन्टिनेंट का मतलब ये है कि इट इज अ डिस्टिंक्ट एंटिटी, डिस्टिंक्ट फीचर है. तो तुम जितनी डिस्टिंक्ट चीजें है ना उतनी डिस्टिंक्ट चीजें उसका पार्ट बनेगी इस आंसर का. सब कॉन्टिनेंट मींस क्या कि भाई वो एक डिस्टिंक्ट पार्ट है, डिस्टिंक्ट पार्ट है. So, like as he said, Tishan talked about having a Gondwana land, and it so first would be origin. So distinctive plate, and here see, I have so this would be like equator. I didn't draw a bit of more detailed map, but I would say origin, distinctive plate interaction, and I would write here some 2-3 words that interaction of Indian plate with Eurasian plate, leading to Indian subcontinent development. That's it. And here I have drawn a very short but very relatable map, diagram, whatever you can call, to show how there was this movement of Indian plate and how interaction takes place. And of course, you need to label them as well. Second would be what is so for a subcontinent, it must have like diverse and large size also now. So here say I have said it's 30° in this the latitudinal expense and 30° in longitudinal expense approx. And then to show there is a diversity, I say there is this black basalt. Again, scientific term. I would say here there is gneiss and schist. Again, NCERT wala content. Nothing is extraordinary. Nothing is here. I would say there are plains. Here, there I would say Himalayan mountains, and that's it. That itself explains why I'm what. So you got the point. Now my argumentation of having it a diverse and large size, I have explained. I have fulfilled the demand by a simple and crisp diagram. That's what a map drawing or diagram drawing is. Similarly, what there is this open access to sea. So you can here just explain that there is Bay of Bengal on the west, on the east, and Arabian Sea and Indian Ocean. That's it. Next would be distinctive climate, and that would be like monsoonal on western margin, still not a desert. So this is what makes it very distinctive climate. If there wasn't any monsoon, we would have to be desert. So you can see here I have shown the desert also, and I have given like a simple diagram of how there is the subcontinent and how monsoon actually comes in. Then
I hope everybody is now understanding why maps are important in geography. Agar if we Nikhil tries to explain this point through the words, na, it will take 50-60 words to explain this. It will become very tedious.
yes. Then distinctive biogeography, like the Utkarsh talk about, need to talk about the biogeography of India. I have given a detail. So here this is Western Himalayas, the Indo-Burma, the Sandal land, the Western Ghats. I have given 4 biogeography hotspot, and then I've given you there would be like tropical evergreen forest, desert and thorny, and then there will Himalayan mountain. You can detail and you can give as much details, as much explanations as you want, but my intention here is to show how a simple point can be just explained by this. And here what I would write, there would be like 15 distinct biogeographical zones in India and 4 bio diversity hotspots. based on differential climate. Examiner know that this diversity, this assessment, he has conveyed the point. Next would be like what? Distinctive and diverse culture. Here I would say Himalayas as barrier, monsoon as unifying factor. So every time I'm not drawing a map, sometimes I'm also using my other tools of just crisp explanation, some examples or something like that. And then going on to, and now I'll be moving on to applied aspects as well now. So for it to be a subcontinent, it should have like high and extensive population. It is called a subcontinent because it has high and extensive population. Here, I would say 1.4 billion population. I would say that high population density in Gangetic Valley. This much is enough to convey my point to the examiner. I hope like all of you got when I say how maps are to be drawn, how diagrams are to be drawn, how they should be incorporated, and none of the diagram is like actually prepared or something. Just I have thought about, I have done this multiple times. I would immediately, my thinking approach would be, how would I be incorporating a map or diagram in every point, in every aspect. I hope like uh, this,
सर
this makes sense.
अगर जैसे सर आपने पहले बताया था कि ज्योग्राफी में हम जैसे मान लीजिए क्लाइमेटोलॉजी एक्सप्लेन करके हम उसे क्लाइमेट बता दें और प्लेन कोस्टल एक पॉइंट में डाल दें, फिर एक सोसाइटी के उसमें कल्चर एक उसमें डाल दें, लैंग्वेज एक उसमें डाल दें.
अरे बहुत बढ़िया, वेरी गुड.
मैं सोच ही रहा था कि जब मैंने क्वेश्चन देखा ना तो मेरे दिमाग व्हेन आई फर्स्ट सॉ दिस क्वेश्चन ना, मेरे दिमाग में एक ही चीज आया कि फर्स्ट आई विल राइट द ज्योग्राफिकल फैक्टर्स, देन आई विल राइट द नॉन ज्योग्राफिकल फैक्टर्स, because it is a geography question. That's why I am separating it separately, writing the geographical factors as a separate heading. If it would have been a history question, I will write the historical arguments first. मतलब these things we do in other areas. These things we do in other areas also, na?
Arguments based on maps. So I wanted to draw as many. I wanted to showcase as many arguments I can write with the help of diagrams.
I hope everybody is able to understand arguments and the value addition part, है ना?
ओके. एंड सर एंडिंग में अगर मतलब आईआर से मुझे थोड़ा फार फेच लग रहा है, लेकिन क्या सार्क वगैरह से एसोसिएट हो सकता है?
हाँ,
बहुत बढ़िया,
डेफिनेटली.
बहुत बढ़िया.
हाँ, करो करो, अरे बहुत बढ़िया. आ गया ना, मतलब अब थोड़ा बहुत तो आइडिया लग गया ना.